Hey there, Pubsters. This is the Apple Pub. My name's Emmanuel.
And I'm Raphael, and today we're going to be covering our thoughts and opinions on what's to be expected tomorrow at WWDC.
We think that since this is a developers conference, we're going to be seeing mostly just the software side of things and practically no hardware at all.
Yeah, the Apple TV was the only one that was originally thought to be showing up, but unless the rumors about it not being ready are false, there's really unlikely that anything will be showing up.
Yeah, so we're thinking basically it's going to be Watch OS since it's relatively new, and it's confirmed that some of their paintings they were putting up it showed Watch OS, OS 10, and iOS 9. I think the main focus is going to be iOS 9 because that's their cash cow.
Yeah, that's the big one that's changing. I'm hoping they'll have some special things coming out for the OS 10.11, but yeah, as it seems right now, most of the stuff coming out is on iOS 9.
Yeah. For iOS 9, I'm mainly looking forward to that because there are quite a few features that I think have been a long time coming. Mainly being the multi-user support. So this is more iPad focused, obviously. You usually have one iPad in a family, and it's usually one person's device. So there's a privacy issue.
It's that whole Netflix problem that originally used to be before there was users, where everyone's favorite shows would show up randomly, like mix up like what your shows were and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also there's issues with businesses using iPads and schools using iPads because there's only one main account. Then you can't really separate who gets access to what, and just have that separation. So it's really good that they're actually finally getting around to implementing that. Another thing was the split screen multitasking. That's huge. In the last iPad Air 2, they put 2 gigs of RAM in it, and that was basically foreshadowing and preparing for functionality where you could run 2 apps truly multitasking.
I would still think they would need more than 2 gigs. I'm hoping there has been talk about the iPad Pro, and this whole split screen was originally designed around that. If we do, I doubt it's coming out during WWDC, but if we do hear something about it, I think it is the focus there to have like a larger screen tablet where you could really multitask really well, having 2 like documents up, doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's like you said, it's the main focus of the iPad Pro or iPad Plus. So yeah, iOS 9 is not gonna. I'm sure there are gonna be features that no one saw coming, but I don't think they're gonna be huge game-changing things. But very convenient fixes that have been a long time coming. So the fact that split-screen multitasking is coming is probably gonna be one of the headlining features.
Yeah.
And the last one is the Home app that I'm really looking forward to. I'm a big
he's really big on the HomeKit and having everything automated in the house and being able to control everything from your phone. Honestly, I am too. I think it's really cool, but to me, it's just the startup cost right now is really high.
Yeah, but this is setting the groundwork for the future. So I don't think it's gonna take off immediately. Just like the Apple Watch, it's an undeveloped, unexplored area. So same with the home appliances. There have been smart home smart home appliances coming out, but nothing that really tied it all together. So really excited to see this come together and solidify over the next 3, 4, 5 years. I think it's gonna make a huge impact.
Oh yeah, big time. I think so. Especially considering, like you said, this pretty much kind of converges everything into one app that runs it. And because Apple's so big, a lot of people will fall into that category of using HomeKit as their basis for their the app, I guess, to run things. But as you were mentioning earlier with us when we were talking was how iOS 9 is coming with a bunch of bug fixes. We had mentioned in one of our videos earlier. I think that's going to be really big, trying to optimize that. And that's one of the big things I'm hoping for with the new OS X 10.11 as well. Because honestly, just like with iOS, the OSs have gotten a little bit more buggy than they used to be. Like when I got my first white plastic MacBook back in like 2007, I think, I swear that computer was rock solid. It never crashed on me. Even though some people like complain about the older ones, and I think it was like Tiger and stuff, but what was it, Leopard and Snow Leopard? Those things, there was just nothing ever go wrong with them.
I remember there would hardly be any crashes, if at all. Mac OS and iPhone, especially the iPhone, they've degraded noticeably in quality. their hardware is still fine, it's great,
Mm-hmm.
but the software is just so buggy, and they keep releasing things that it's almost embarrassing. Where your phone would stop working, you couldn't call anyone after an update for the iPhone. So yeah, they really need to scale things back and
Yeah,
take
like
it slowly.
simplify it, clean it up, get it, like ground up, work on it. And that's, yeah, like I said, OS X 11. I haven't updated to, what is it, Yosemite because of that. I have the last non-Retina MacBook Pro that came out, the 2012 model, mid 2012. And I never upgraded because it just, there was battery issues and like some other like problems that were coming up with that model. And I'm really looking forward for there like to be some bug fixes, efficiency fixes, and because I really want to jump up to the next level and see, with the OS.
Yeah, things kind of picked up for Apple, especially after Steve Jobs passed away. Apple was booming, and they had to keep up with competition, Samsung. So iOS 7 was like their major graphical overhaul. iOS 8 was their jam packing all these new features in.
Yeah.
And now it's just time for them to shift gears and kind of just.
Yeah, they've been building everything on top of one another, and I feel like this is about time where they break it down into like components and just get it cleaned up.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's Phil Schiller who usually goes into the hardware, but sometimes they really go into how they improve things under the hood, and he explains the software. And one of the things I really appreciated about iOS 9 is that it's not this one big OS and then they disable features for older phones running the OS. Instead, it's a bunch of layers. Here's the core functionalities. Here's these other functionalities, and they activate the base and whatever on top of that instead of deactivating a bunch of things from a massive OS. So that makes a difference. They're adding little by little.
It makes it modular. You have this base model that works on everything, and then depending on if you're on the iPad, there's these modules like added onto it, and then if you're on the iPhone, it's these modules added onto it. So it's not like you were saying, it's not that you get the whole OS and then shut off parts of it, which can cause issues.
Yeah. So a lot going on with iOS 9, and we're glad they're finally focusing on stability. Honestly, I don't know if I could take another software update riddled with bugs on top of all the backlog of bugs. So good on Apple, they're going the right direction.
Yeah, this is what their brand is. That just rock solid performance, efficiency. That's all. Yeah, like I said, the performance is just never no bugs and stuff like that. Recently, that's been kind of, there's been issues coming up with that. So I'm really glad that they're focusing back on like what their trait was. Like you would buy a Mac because it just always worked. That was why you would go for it.
Yeah. And what else are you expecting or hoping to see?
Like I said, one of my bigger things again was originally I was really hoping for the Apple TV and the TV streaming service. That's big for me because I'm a cable cutter, and I was really hoping for like a really solid all-in package includes type of like TV streaming service.
Yeah, me too.
But sadly, like we had mentioned before, rumor has it, and it's more than likely true, that neither of those, the TV or the streaming service, are ready for WWDC. So unless there's just been a whole bunch of bad rumors going around about that, that's not gonna happen. So that's a bit of a letdown for me because those are the two big things I was hoping for.
It's not often that they release their hardware during WWDC. They do it sometimes though, and I'm still holding out hope that it still happens.
I think if they were to release the streaming service, they kind of had to go with the Apple TV because that's pretty big news. If you're coming out with the HomeKit, HomeKit's big. What is going to be big at WWDC? That streaming service. If they came out with a TV streaming service, you would kind of have to bring out the Apple TV.
Yeah, but
that's
they could kind of give a sneak peek, like here's what's to come.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's ready either, this Apple TV streaming service, but they could at least say, hey, this is what's coming. It's also a big announcement for Apple's focus on music, because not only are they revamping the iTunes radio service, but they're also announcing their streaming
the
service.
music streaming service, which was the whole thing where they teamed up with Beats and everything.
Yeah, the whole reason they bought Beats, and it was kind of obvious early on that's what they were trying to do, because I don't think they were getting into the headphone business all of a sudden. But I think that's more of a side thing. So it's gonna be big, I think. Spotify competitor, but you have
cool. It's great you're coming out with this service, but in the big scheme of things, with all these other service providers that are around, like I know Pandora doesn't really fall into that mix the same, but you have things like Pandora and other places, SoundCloud.
I really think it only comes down to Jay-Z's Tidal and Spotify. Those are the only two I know of that have that kind of service.
I know, but then when there is no freemium tier, like you have $10 a month, $120 a year to stream music. I don't know. To me, it's just it's not something that I feel like it's gonna be crazy about everyone. Sure, you get like what was it they were talking about?
I do think it's a too expensive of what.
I was gonna say that they're coming out with human curated playlists and stuff. Like that's cool and all, but I feel like other companies can really, you know, Spotify and stuff can really jump onto that as well and do it themselves as well.
Yeah, but I think it'll take them a while to catch up too, because Beats already had it set up. Mm-hmm. I think that's why they took it and ran with it. I do think that it's kind of a rip-off, because you have Amazon Prime that's what, $120 now, and they offer, you know, same-day shipping in a lot of cities now, or next-day shipping.
Yeah.
They also have like all these other benefits. It's basically like Netflix.
Movies.
And on top of that, they give you free cloud storage and streaming music.
Yeah.
So for that same amount, $10 a month is what it essentially breaks down to. You get all those things, whereas with Apple, it's just here's some music for you to listen to.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's my only thing. It's cool. It's great that Apple's coming out with, but I feel like they're just expanding the company. But it's really not. It's not a big deal to me, at least. It wasn't something I cared about, but it's been a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah, there needs to be a distinguishing factor. I don't think human creation and, you know, what else was it? They're offering human creation and one other thing with their a social element to the whole thing.
Which I mean, that already failed originally when they had and so I don't know how much you can change that to make people.
We'll see. Maybe they learned and they're gonna improve on it. But overall, I think the impression I'm getting from WWDC, it's Apple going back and focusing on what makes them great. Yeah, stability. Even with music, they got big off the iPod, and they're going back, and as they always say, music's in our DNA. Mm-hmm. It's like they're going back to their roots and focusing on what made Apple enjoyable originally, and so it's coming full circle for me, and that's what I expect from WWDC. One last quick thing is that Google did announce their photo storage thing, as Ralph covered in his other video, and I'm hoping Apple kind of one-ups them, because their storage prices are kind of pricey. So I'm hoping I don't think they'll go free, but at least lower the prices for iCloud storage. A guy can dream, but we'll see what happens. I don't think it's likely, but yeah. Alright guys, and that about wraps up our thoughts on WWDC. We really hope you enjoyed the video. Please let us know what you hope to see or expect to see tomorrow at WWDC.
And of course, subscribe to help support the channel. We'll be covering again, like he was saying, WWDC in tomorrow's video. Like us as always, and thanks for stopping by.